Hello friends, this is Wrinkle from Central Queensland University Sydney campus. I am doing Master of Professional Accountancy here in one of my subject Australian Commercial Law. I have been made one of case studies through my research and studies related to my subject, and in my case studies I would like to explain one of the case that I have done through the research. And in my case, my client name is Sandra. She is a receiver of the given offer. Service provider is ACL internet service provider. The product and services in my case is internet phone package, and the visual offer that my client Sandra has been accepted such kind of offer through internet, through the online advertising, through the brochures. And the fact of my this offer is that there are two facts that the JJNet service provider has been explained on online advertising that he going to provide 100 MB data per second and 100 GB data per month as his offer, and the consideration for this is $59.99. And my client Sandra, of course, accepted such kind of offer through online advertising, and the JJNet service provider also advances some additional offer that if my client Sandra purchase this internet package from him, then he would like to offer two additional parts, that's the internet modem and also mobile phone for unlimited local calls. And the condition for providing such kind of additional offer is only that if my client Sandra purchased $59.99 package from him for respective 12 months. And of course my client has been accepted such offer, and the contracts also takes place between both of them. There is a value considerations between both of them. But after some usage of such internet package, my client Sandra has been faces a number of difficulties, and that I'm going to display in my IREC model one by one. In brief, I would like to inform you one of my difficulties is about the mobile phone doesn't like new, and the service is not as per prescribed in the advertising brochures, and also speeds going to finished after frequent use of the internet, and it is not as per the prescribed offer and everything. And the main part of this issue and the case study is that the JJNet service provider, after knowing such kind of difficulties on the part of my client Sandra, refused to replace it. So in my case studies, I have made a IREC model for giving solutions and suggestions to my client Sandra that there is not a valid contract between both of them, and if she purchased anything, then both should have to be a proper knowledge of the rules and conditions to enter into the contract. And the JJNet can't just give this mobile phone to my client without knowing any fact about the proper use and proper characteristics and features that has been attached with such product and services. So I would like to explain you this detail in IREC format. So the legal advice to my client Sandra. So in this case, I have been explained through the IREC. First of all, in IREC, I would like to explain you each issue that my client Sandra faces through the 3-month use of such internet mobile package, and of course the internet modem and mobile phone. So in my case, the first issue that my client has been faced is that the internet package was not as per the prescribed conditions of 100 MB per second. It happened only at the early morning hours, that is 2 a.m. in the morning, and after that the speed can't find that mentioned in the advertising brochures. And the second point is that the speed of the internet package slow down dramatically, and to the some point and the some extent of use it just finished. So the per second 100 MB just finished while using frequently, and dramatically the speed also slowed down. And the third issue that I would like to inform you that when client Sandra reviews the mobile phone, it was not as per the circumstances that has been mentioned in the online advertising, and it doesn't looks like a new as well. And the fourth point that would I like to explain you that the key of the mobile phone getting stuck at each use and every use while typing some text messages and so on, and it got stuck every time it goes hang and everything. The battery seems to die after few hours of use, and it does not looks like mentioned in the before in the online advertising. And the main point and the main problem that JJNet has been explained, that after knowing the facts that the problem faces by my client Sandra, that he straight away refused to replace this mobile phone. And therefore the above stated I have mentioned all the issues and the problems that my client has been faces after getting contracted with the service provider JJNet in Australia. So what are the rules that I have been made a research that I would like to explain you, that I have been studied the Australian consumer law, and there are I gone through the number of sections that has been perfectly suits to my case, and I would like to explain that sections. First of all, the section 18 subsection 1 of the Australian consumer law explain that a person must not in trade or commerce or engaged in conduct that misleading or deceptive or likely to mislead the decisive kind of offer or something. The impression of section 18 also states that this rule has been violated. Here false advertising captured by these legislations and rules to the contract, and it is possible to everyone to avoid and to stop on viewing any misleading advertising on online or internet. In such case, reasonable acceptance plays a vital role on the both part, that the sender and the receiver of such offer. It requires an analysis of a particular case where expectations on the particular product does not meet its real positions. So we can see something different on online, and while we are going to receive, it is not as per the prescribed conditions, and it not as per that we have shown online. It is completely different. So for example, in case of one of the case studies that I have referred of Henjo Investments, that in such case he needs a particular analysis of the product at hand, having a regard to all the circumstances and explaining the fact whether the legal expectations still exist or not, and also shows that high moral expectations by the single party is irrelevant in such case. And another and the second sections that relates to my case studies in one of my clients Sandra is that section 29 of the Australian Consumer Act, which shows that the false and misleading representations about goods and services. According to section 29 of the Australian Consumer Law states that a person is prohibited from making false, misleading representations in connections with the supply or with the promotion of goods and services. So the main point of the advertising is that the false and misleading goods are already banned by the Australian consumer law. And the second section that I would like to inform you, that section 33. According to section 33 of the Australian consumer law, this rule prohibits misleading to the public in relations to the nature, characteristics, suitability for the purpose of quality of the goods. Now I would like to explain some of the applications and analysis that I would like to attach these rules to the actual issues that has been faced by my client. So now in case of our client Sandra, we are going to apply the rules to the fact of the problem issues in our case. So firstly, the issue shows that the speed of internet data package was not as per the prescribed or mentioned as before while entering into the contract, which was 100 MB per second, and it happened only at the early morning hours that I have explained before. So this kind of issue, I would like to relate this issue to the section 18 subsection 1 of the Australian Consumer Law, which explained that the JJNet service provider should have to replace it, that it is not as per the prescribed offer on internet through advertising. So one should be very clear about the features and the characteristics that and the product that he or she going to sold on the market. So he should at least aware of the features, whether they are working or not and everything. And secondly, our problems happen with our client shows that, and the speed also got slowed down after each and every use of the internet. In such case also, I would like to relate section 18 subsection 1 of the Australian Consumer Law to the fact. Therefore, there is not a valid contract between my client Sandra and the internet service provider JJNet in Australia. The last and the remaining issues that the phone doesn't like new, and the client also refused to replace it in the contract. So these all are the section 29, section 33, section 18, subsection 1 of the Australian Consumer Law relates to the issues, and also I have explained the probable solutions to this. Now at the end, I would like to conclude that from the detailed analysis of the above mentioned rules to each issue that occurred with our client Sandra while having in contract with JJNet service provider, shows that this contract is in restraint of trade, and therefore there is not a valid contract formed between both the parties, Sandra and JJNet service provider, and also JJNet service provider is liable to replace the purchased goods and services to the client, and also liable to give money back to my client Sandra as a considerations that also has been processed by my client. And therefore above mentions are all the legal advice on from my part to my client Sandra that the contract that she made with JJNet service provider is not valid as per the law of the Australian Consumer Act, and hence there is not valid contract between both of them.